dope.
All right, that looks good, bro. Right? Should we show a little bit of cock?
No.
No cock.
I'm drinking a lager and he's drinking Twisted Tea. And we're Buffet Sports. You can catch us on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram if you want to watch more of us. We appreciate all of you who watch the show already. Like, comment, and subscribe. Do all the good stuff down below. All of your interaction is encouraged, whether it's positive or negative. I don't really care because I'll never meet you. Let's jump in.
1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 3, okay. Can you find me on the road? One more cigarette, I'm done, so done.
This is the Jets rebuild. This is what we are doing in the offseason to pass the time. It is currently week 15 of the rebuild. We are in the playoffs. We are currently 8-5. Our quarterback at the moment is one Mr.
Quinn Mitchell.
Quinn Ewers, who is a star development, 78 overall. The only other additions that we have picked up is Cam Scadaboo, who is not starting.
Damn, Andy Scotty's a freaking normie.
They haven't played.
Not true.
And then Restrepo, who also didn't start.
Restrepo might not even make it in the league.
Yeah, we did not draft well because we drafted a wide receiver who has yet to see the field, and we drafted a running back who has yet to see the field. But the only additions here is obviously Quinn and then Mr. Zach Ertz. And then on defense, I think we picked up some guys in the free agency, and then we have a hidden development linebacker. That's the rebuild as it stands right now. We're an 83 overall. We are a base 3-4 defense. We run a West Coast power run. Damn, we're only a 56% fit. We're winning games, though. We're winning games. It doesn't matter. That is the team. That is what we're doing. As it stands right now, I am just playing the moments. And as we go through our podcast and talk about our points, and then possibly might have a little segment on UFC. You told me you had 10 minutes. You had a whole
5 to 10 minutes ish.
Is that the first thing you want to jump into?
I mean, if we're gonna talk draft, yeah, we need to. I have to set up. I have to set up.
Would it be better if I had a draft point? Would it be better if you gave your?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Because basically from this point till next week, this is the basis on which I'm working on. Oh. And so you need to understand this because we started to talk about this, and you were tired, so you went to bed, and we've been talking about the draft and Shador specifically for a while, anyways.
Yeah.
And so this is how this is how I look at quarterback like evaluation. Because we were talking about kind of like evaluations, and you were talking about how like the difference for me is like I'm very confident in how I look at these guys.
Yeah. I like this. I like peeking behind the curtain on how he does his process.
This is just how, and it's not like
how the painter strokes his brush.
Yeah, it's not that scientific. It's a very like it is pretty balls.
How the porn star puts it in, you know.
It's pretty balls. So I think and I also think looking at it this way grounds everybody because we're about to go into major draft fraud.
Yeah,
major
100%.
draft fraud, and already we're kind of there because people are considering taking Jackson Dart over Shador, and I'll talk about why that's not realistic, but it's not.
Gotcha.
So I think this, for me, where everyone's gonna be over the next couple weeks, where it's like you're a hater. Yes, I am. Absolutely correct. So
yeah, you're right.
I've got a little scale here. If we want, you can kind of throw up, like, we can take a picture of it after the podcast and put it up.
Yeah, that'd be
so
good.
that they can kind of follow along with it. But I look at this as if it's a scale, okay? The toppity tip-top, an elite prospect, is a 30.
30.
0 is technically non-existent. Yes. me and you on the couch.
Yeah.
15 is an NFL prospect.
Ooh, okay.
So
middle, halfway.
The middle is an NFL prospect. And so that is, or you can look at it as 0. And then, so 15 is an NFL prospect. They are an okay prospect. They are okay. Literally, when I say okay, I literally mean they're okay. They're okay to be evaluated as an NFL quarterback, potentially.
Yeah.
They have the potential to be one. The next jump is 5 points up at 20, which is good. They are a good NFL prospect. They have a better chance than most at playing in the NFL. Not starting, playing in the NFL. Being a career backup or having a semi-successful career. And that doesn't necessarily mean Super Bowls. It just means playing and making money.
How? What would the average for the amount of years? Like 3 years, 5 years?
you make it through your rookie deal and you get a second one of some
Like
kind.
that.
Like
Yeah, that's a
something
good one.
along those lines. That's a good prospect. The next one is great. You are a plus 10. This is a 25 score. Okay? Great. You are probably a starter. You're probably like the way I look at you, you're probably a starter in the league. Maybe not right away. Maybe you have to go through some adversity, but you're probably a starter.
Yeah.
And you're probably at that probably a 5 to 8 year starter. Not quite franchise, but solid quarterback, top 15 in the league.
Will
I won't even say top 15. So that is great. Obviously, elite true 30, there is not one. That doesn't exist because otherwise you're Tom Brady.
Yeah.
A 30 doesn't exist because you can't come into the league with nothing to work on. So in my eyes, personally, a 29 is the highest you can get, but 30 is elite. Essentially, another scale way to look at it as okay. So all the same things are true, but when you're talking about the difference between great and an elite prospect, a great prospect is somebody who clearly has a superpower, but there's one, and they're very proficient at it.
Say it again. This is for elite.
Great.
Oh, a great. They have
Great.
one superpower.
They have
Okay.
one superpower. They may have one or two weaknesses, but they do majority of things pretty well. But they have one thing that they are really good at. They have an
Gotcha.
elite trait, and they're proficient at using it. An elite prospect, where you get into the next thing, they have multiple superpowers. They don't have necessarily a weakness. They just have things that they can improve. Essentially,
Think about prospect, not current.
prospect, right?
Think about prospect Trevor Lawrence,
which
right?
is don't worry,
yeah,
we're gonna
okay.
get there. That's the next. So yes, prospects. We're not talking about what they became in the NFL. Just as a prospect, you're looking at them and evaluating what they can be in the NFL as a prospect. So let's map out some guys to put it into perspective of where we're going to talk about Cam and Shador, obviously, in this whole thing, right? So let's map out a couple guys. We'll start at the top end and the bottom end, and we'll kind of fill in the middle. I did not go too far into the archives. I tried to stay pretty current. I actually used the last 3 draft classes to fill out most of this, and I grabbed a couple guys that are notables that I say their name and you immediately understand what I'm talking about.
Gotcha.
So, very top of the heap.
We're going top down.
Yeah, we're going to go
Okay.
top down. We're going to go with the very top. We're going to go with the very bottom. And then we're going to kind of fill in the middle to get ideas. So the very top, the first guy I think of when I think about a 29 prospect, the best prospect you can get. This is the first guy that, for me, in our age range, where I can legitimately say I remember the way he was talked about. I remember the hype that he had, and then the immediate getting into the system and looking like a guy.
Yeah.
Andrew Luck.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is the number one prospect that I can remember that's the tippity top in terms of just raw prospect. Now, the other way in which I'm evaluating this, there is some bias because I look at this as 3 factors. Obviously, 4. We talked about the one in terms of skill. The other one is how I perceived the media perceiving them, their actual draft position, and how I look at them. Those are the other pieces to the puzzle, kind of. And Andrew Luck is the first guy I can remember that's just like standout, best prospect.
Yeah.
Everyone says he was just an incredible prospect.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think there's a debate with that.
So I think that's a good one to like set the tone of what we're talking about. When you're saying a 29, just hit X. Oh, no. Okay. Well,
If they get
we're in
this back-
Well, we're in onside. We're in onside. It's Adam. It's Adam. Fine.
Adam Lazard.
We're fine. The next one that I can think of, so Andrew Luck is a 29 grade. The next one I can think of is like Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
Coming out, he was an incredible prospect.
Yeah.
He was one of the most hyped prospects since like Peyton Manning. I had him at like a 28.5 to a 26.5 because I think coming out, if I remember right, there was some question marks about how much he cared about football. So there was some, like, if I remember right, I could be imagining it, but I feel like I remember them talking about, like, he does kind of have a mentality of not giving. He's really good, but killing the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I've got him, he fell somewhere between like a 26.5 to a 28, still well within the elite range, okay? Now let's go to the opposite end and throw some names out for guys that fall underneath, that are 15 or under, that should not have even had a grade, that we all consensus look at and we're like, what? Mac Jones. He went in the first round, but everyone and their mother were like, why are we drafting this guy in the first round? He's a 3rd round quarterback.
It was also the Patriots too. So like the Patriots do some. So yeah. Yeah, I can see.
He went in the first round, but everyone was like, well, Trey Lance is another one that I think was a 15 or below because he had played legitimately like 50 college snaps. And after high school, he played like 50 snaps, and there was no one knew who he was. Like, there was there was expectations, but to me at least, from everything I heard, I was like, I didn't get why they were drafting him 3. And I think everyone, obviously now everyone's like, that was a reach. But I think even in the moment, people were like, whoa, that's a big reach. Trey Lance falls in there. You can throw guys like, those are the 2 I'm going to throw in there for now. There's some other names that apply to this year exactly that will be good ones that I think will fit in there.
I would throw Mitch Trubisky into that.
Okay.
Just me personally, I was not a fan of Mitch.
I don't remember him, so...
Yeah, I was not a fan of Mitch. He went over Lamar Jackson.
Josh Rosen is a good one.
Yeah.
That's a great one. What the... Why... there was no reason. You know what I mean? Josh
Did
Rosen's
Zach Wilson go in the first round?
Oh, dude, he was a second overall pick.
Oh, he was?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Is Zach
either
in there?
2 or 1. I don't think he was 15 or below.
He had some pop to him.
I think he had some pop to him, and we can kind of throw him in here to get an idea. But now we've got kind of a gauge. Like, I want people to really think about when we're, like, the draft rot here. This is what we're talking about. Andrew Luck, and, like, there's a lot of room between Andrew Luck and Josh Rosen. There's a ton of room. And so I think people get caught up in, obviously, the first year where you're like, the whatever draft it is, that this is your guy and whatever, and they're going to be your savior. It's not that. There's a large spectrum, and every draft is different. So let's go through and let's fill some guys in. So we've got, at a 27 grade, I threw Caleb Williams here. 2 points above great, 2 points above a great prospect. He's a number 1 overall pick. And
2 superpowers, ability, just athletic superpower, and then his creativity.
Yeah,
right.
100%. And then you can also throw in there a superpower in terms of he's got arm power. He's got arm angles. He does a lot. He's got a really, and you could attribute that to athleticism, to your point. But he's got multiple superpowers. He is proficient. There's not a ton that he needed to work. There was not glaring issues there, but there's stuff that he needs to improve.
Yes. Yeah.
So 27 grade there. I think coming out just below that at a 26 grade, Jaden Daniels falls in here. Because coming out, there were some, if I don't remember exactly, but some size things were with that.
Yep.
Is he a quarterback? Kind of the same Lamar syndrome thing. So I've got him
like
at a...
He can get hurt. I remember we had a huge talk here. Like, look at Drake, and then look at Jaden.
Yeah.
Man. Like, Jaden looks so small. Like, be scared for him. And it was a good criticism, I would say. But I would argue...
It was more just a worry.
You put him at 26.
I have him at a 26 grade. So he was a great... Because, I mean, look, he's a winner. He was a Heisman winner. And it was older, so there was no questions with maturity.
Yeah.
So to me, he was a great prospect. I think you had him at 26. There were people who thought that he could have gone 1 that year.
Yeah.
So half a point lower than Caleb, I think.
If I could butt in, I would say based on memory, I would put him because 25 is the line, right?
Yeah.
I would put him at 24.9 because I don't think people gave him the superpower of running the ball until he did it in the NFL.
I think some people did.
Yeah, definitely.
I think some people did, and I think the majority was worried about his size, but I think people recognized it. I don't think anyone was like, he can't do it.
Yeah.
So I've got him at 26. I've got him at 26th grade. Just below great, the next one here, the 3rd overall pick in that draft from last year's draft, Drake May.
Yeah.
This is a guy that clearly has a superpower. He is athletically gifted, has quite a bit to work on.
Yeah.
Has some issues, but has a high ceiling because he's so young.
Yeah.
So 24 grade, just below great. He's in the good to great, and still maybe if he's lacking in a couple other areas. Essentially, you can look at it this way. If you start with 15 points, there's 3 categories, each with 5 points. If you lose points in each one, obviously you go down. If you gain points, you go up. So, depending on how you want to look at it, you can. So, I've got a Drake May at a 24-ish grade, okay? Now, we drop down. As a prospect, these 2 guys are kind of neck and neck. I have one above the other. I have Bo at a 21 grade. Just above good. Like, it was clear he was going to come in and just whatever team he pretty much went to, he made an impact. Why I have him at a 21 grade here and a Michael Penix at a 20? Obviously, Michael Penix had a huge injury risk.
Yep.
And Bo also is a player that can work in almost every system. Like, he is a guy that you can put him in almost every system aside from...
Is that his superpower?
I think it plays into it. I think the accuracy and the brain was his superpower, but I think that plays into it's kind of the same thing as being able to play in a bunch of systems because he played under 5 different OCs and because he has the mental. I think that all of that is one superpower. That's why I don't have him higher. All of that's kind of one superpower. And then there's no injury concern at the time, right? So I have him one step above at a 21 grade. Penix at a 20 grade. That one's a little bit backwards for some people. They might dispute it because Bo went 12, Penix went 8, but that was a surprise.
Yeah, nobody was thinking the Falcons were taking a QB.
Right. So now you can see though, but even still, that's pretty much we pretty much talked about last year's draft, and there's a clear gap between obviously a Bo and a Caleb, but we see that obviously Bo I think unarguably outperformed Caleb this year.
Yeah.
So, and we'll talk about that, but we're kind of starting to fill in and see what we're talking about to kind of ground ourselves here. Let's just run through a couple more. We've got an 18 grade, so above okay, underneath a good. Bryce Young was an 18 grade realistically.
I'm talking about Cam Ward. Cam Ward's on the Browns.
Oh, he is?
Yeah, we're playing Cam Ward right now.
Well, he'll be coming up soon.
Yeah.
So, Bryce, I had him at an 18 grade. He was a number 1 overall pick, but we all remember there was the massive question with him was size.
Yeah.
And then they were like, he's athletic. His superpower. He did have a superpower, but there were so many other doubts.
Yeah.
So 18 grade there.
They called him the Steph Curry of football.
Right.
They thought he was just that accurate.
Well, that and his brain too.
Yeah.
But the size was just so much of an issue for certain people, I think. And then also the Browns or the Panthers question mark, but that's not his fault. So anyways, I've got Bryce at like an 18 grade. I didn't even in that point I didn't think much of him. Underneath that at a 17, you could put him on the same plane. I think this is where you get guys that do have a very clear superpower. They do something well. They've got some sort of intangible that you like, but they just have a too big of a glaring issue. So I'm just going to rattle names off here. Spencer Rattler, Jackson Dart, Jalen Milroe, Bazooka Joe, Will Howard, Kyle McCord.
Wait, I'm so sorry. He just broke 3 tackles for a touchdown. Okay.
Is that Zach?
Yeah, that's Zach Ertz.
Nice.
I'm so sorry. Watch this replay. If it shows it, boom. Get off me. He got a touchdown from that. He got a touchdown for that. His knee was on the ground. I don't care. Okay. I apologize. Let's continue.
So, yeah, these are guys underneath. So, Bryce, we had it about an 18 grade. Between that and 15, these guys, it's kind of no man's land. These are all just guys that probably they either have a superpower, but they have a glaring issue, or they're just okay. Like, they're just guys. Like, they're guys that are going to get drafted, and they're going to come in and out of the league, and that's just the way things go, right? And I'm just going to roll names out here, and you'll understand, like, you'll know why. Spencer Rattler, Jackson Dart, Jalen Milroe, Bazooka Joe, Will Howard, Kyle McCord, Dylan Gabriel, Tyler Show, which that one's kind of a maybe. All these names are names. It's like, yeah, they're guys. They could be good. Glaring issues. Tyler Show, obviously injury concerns. Dylan Gabriel, size, concern. Kyle McCord, smaller school, concern. Bazooka Joe, footwork, attitude, work ethic, concerns. Will Howard, he's just okay.
Yeah.
Jackson Dart, accuracy concerns. Jalen Milroe.
Yes. Keep going.
Like, all these guys have either a glaring issue or they're just okay. So now the question is, where do Cam and Shador fall into this?
Yeah.
And now that we've set the landscape, it's easier for me to... The reason I go through all this is because when I say where these two guys are in relation of their grades, it puts into context what I said to you the other night, where you were like, well, he's the second quarterback off the board.
Yeah.
They see something. Not necessarily.
Yeah.
And this is what I mean. I've got Cam at a comparable grade to Bo Nix at 21. I've got him on the same plane. So a good, just above a good prospect on the same level as Bo and Michael Penix,
Yeah.
which I think is fair. I think Cam is a first round quarterback. Is he a number one overall pick? No. Is he a first round quarterback in most drafts?
Yeah.
I think so.
There's a lot to like about him.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of upside there, and I think he's got. I don't think he has any. I don't see a superpower, but that doesn't mean he doesn't excel at multiple things. Now I've got Shador at the same grade as Bryce, an 18. So you can see even there, that's the gap that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The gap between comparably Bo Nix and Bryce Young. Massive gap there.
Yeah.
Same thing with Shador. He's okay. I don't think he's terrible. I don't think he's lower than, I don't think he's Mac Jones. I don't think he's Josh Rosen, but I don't think he's Cam Ward. I don't think he's Michael Penix. I don't think, that's why I look at Spencer Rattler and I go, he's probably a first round quarterback in this draft. Bazooka Joe, definitely a first round quarterback in this draft. Like, that's the strength that we're talking about of when people say strength of draft, like in any other draft, he's not that high or whatever it is that people say. That's why they're talking about it. And that's where I'm coming from the aspect of Shador's going to drop. I'm not surprised that he already is on people's boards, and rightfully so. The crowning little thing here as to why teams are not jumping at Shador or going crazy over Cam Ward is because there's a guy named Arch Manning coming in next year.
Yeah.
And way projecting out, he'll probably come out around a Drake May grade.
Damn.
Probably somewhere around a 24. Close
Yeah, he's got
to great.
great legs.
Close to great. The final thing here goes to the strength of draft, and this is just an exercise to kind of get an idea. I took the last 3 drafts.
I
And
will say,
assuming
if I could
Yeah.
input something with what I said about he's going second overall, he's got to do something like that these guys are seeing, that because like they're putting him over Jackson, and Jackson's got like at least, it's draft rot season, so people they make things better than they actually are, but. The idea is Jackson is just this guy with incredible arm talent. He's just like doesn't have the mental yet, So like to me, it would make sense that people would like Jackson more because you could teach the mental. Like if you got a good system. So for me, I would say, adding on to what I said before, that like there's got to be something that he does well. Is also like he threw for over 4,000 yards. So like he's got to do something well to throw for over 4,000 yards, in my opinion. I do also understand that the easy way of saying, like, yeah, he threw for 4,000 yards, but it's also like they barely ran the ball and like they didn't play the highest level of competition, right? I understand that. I do. But he still threw for above 70% completion ratio for over 4K yards. I feel like it's got to still stand for something, in my opinion. But I also understand like the criticisms that can be attached to me saying that. I understand, and I fully I'm fully reasonable with those criticisms being attached.
I think what people see, and I think I was watching Colin Cowherd talk about Shador, and I think he hit the nail on the head. What people do see is that he can manufacture offense, to your point. Level of competition certainly plays a role, but there's another way to look at it too when you're talking about level of competition. Yes, the level of competition is not that high, but you also can argue that his teammates in terms of skill are not that good either.
Yeah, like his wide receivers, none of them are projected to go in the first round.
Aside from Travis.
Yes, obviously.
But that, I think, is what people look at. And again, depending on who you are, for me, I'm kind of about it. Because most likely he's going to end up in a bad situation, is that that is the superpower-ish manufacturing offense.
Yeah.
So there's that portion of it. But this last piece is just an exercise in taking this concept, this idea of the way I'm grading quarterbacks specifically, the way I'm grading them into the next level of just like making it even simpler.
Yeah.
So I took the last 3 draft classes, and I took the first 2 quarterback picks. Okay. So Caleb, obviously, in his draft was the number QB1 and was the first overall, was the best player in the draft.
Yeah.
Not pick, but just the best overall prospect in the draft. Bryce Young, surprisingly, looking back at it, was QB1 and was number 1 in that draft.
Yeah.
So very surprisingly. Cam is QB1. He is the 7th overall prospect in this draft. CJ Stroud in his draft was the QB2, 6th overall. Jaden Daniels was QB2 and was 2 overall. And then Shador right now is QB2 and 14th overall.
Yeah.
But to put it in perspective, if you rank all these guys, I honestly think today you're going to go Jaden 1, Caleb 2, CJ 3, Cam Ward 4, Bryson Shador toss up.
Yeah.
So that puts it into perspective of like, and that's not even including obviously all the other guys that came out of last year's draft. That's just 1 and 2 picks.
Yeah.
So when you put it that way, Cam deserving of a first overall round, not a first overall pick, but a first round grade, a first round pick, any draft you kind of throw him into. That's my problem with Shador. You stack him up against just the last 3 drafts, and he falls to the bottom of the heap. That's my whole thing. I want to explain that going into this, why I'm going to have the opinions I have.
I think that's a great explanation.
Yeah. Why the opinions I have and why and how I look at it. And again, I'm not looking at specifics. I don't have actual numbers of like, well, I graded him a 7 out of 10 in this thing.
Yeah.
I just think of it this way. 15's my middle. How far above 15 are they? And how far below are they than Andrew Luck?
Yeah.
Like, Andrew Luck's my ceiling. 15 is where you have to be. Where do you fall in between? And how do I go in like that? So, there's my explanation.
Yeah,
it was
I enjoyed
very
that.
long-winded, but you guys understand
that,
where
and
I'm
I
at.
think people need to know that because I think we're in a point within the internet and the point of like talk shows with sports where nobody actually gives an in-depth explanation of how they came to their conclusion.
Yeah.
I feel like people are like, "Hey, we just lost to the 5-9 Browns."
Yeah,
But-
people do just go,
Yeah,
this is my thing.
This is what I think, and now I'm gonna work backwards based on what you said, and I'm gonna ramble for 10 minutes till you forget what I said.
Yeah.
So I do think that it's super important to be able to actually go in depth on, hey, this is the thought process for doing these because that piece of paper on that countertop. I don't know if you've read it. It is. I went back because of the conversation we had. I was so frustrated that I couldn't explain my point or my thought process. So I went back to school. I looked up the process of creating a hypothesis, and I looked up the process of turning a hypothesis into a theory. So it's funny that me and you both have this same. We both came to the same idea without discussing it. To let's go into explanation. Let's dive deeper into that instead of doing what everybody else is doing, where it's like Mel Kiper, Shador Sanders. He reminds me of Joe Montana.
Yeah.
It's like he throws the ball well. That's why it's like what's the process to come up with that? Like, what did you see? So I will say that was very insightful, and I did enjoy listening to that.
I think it's important. I think it's fun. I also just I think it's fun. I think it's fun to look at it beyond just just saying shit kind of thing and be like, okay, this is actually why I think this.
I think it's a nice breath of fresh air in this world of sports media that we're in, where it's all headlines and it's not like actually explaining what you think. And
I think there's one more layer to it that would take me forever because I don't care that much about the other positions. But then obviously there's other positional strengths within a draft that impact how much you value guys.
Yeah.
But I just want to stick with quarterbacks because that's what I care about most.
Yeah.
And that's what most people care about most. And so when you're talking about the value of a quarterback and the value of the number 1 overall pick, your mind always goes to the quarterback, but it's not always that way.
And with what you were saying, I was going to say this right before you started your deep dive, is I was going to say, a lot of people, when you are only staring at 2 guys for a long time, you forget what the other prospects.
Scale. Yeah.
You forget the scale because, you look at Cam and Shador; or Cam, Shador, and Jackson Dart. Like that's your scaling grade. You forget the other prospects like Andrew Luck.
Yeah.
So it is like, well, I mean, compared to Cam and compared to Jackson, like he's so accurate. That's got to count for something. But it's like, if you look at some of these
this is the history that we're going up against, right? Yeah, I think that's super important. And I think everyone forgets it. That's the draft draw. That is the draft draw.
Yeah.
When you're staring at 3 guys. And think about it. We are fans, okay?
Yeah.
Let's put this in perspective. We're fans. Could you imagine what they're doing in draft rooms right now?
Yeah, that's insane.
Do you know how long that these guys have been
There's got to
doing
be
this?
some guy who's like
Losing his mind.
because
we
he
have
thinks,
to draft
because-
Restrepo 1.
Yeah, because he's been watching Restrepo and he's like, this guy is it.
Yes.
He look at
This
him
is Jamar
compared
Chase.
to Luther Burden.
Yes.
Look at him compared to Luther Burden. This guy is the best at this specific thing, and you forget that there was people like
Jamar Chase.
And Justin
Justin
Jefferson.
Jefferson. Right.
Yeah, it is
100%.
weird. So, with that being said, with that incredibly great detailed explanation of how you grade quarterbacks, I have a top 8
Of quarterbacks, players.
mock draft.
Okay.
I have a mock draft of the top 8. Why not the top 10? Because I ran out of room on my paper, so I cut it off at 8.
Okay.
So off the back of your incredible, actually thought out points, this is how Zane would draft. This is not how others would draft. This is my mock draft. If I became the GM of these 8 teams, this is who I would take and why.
Okay.
Number 1, Titans are up on the board. Who they select? I think it's pretty easy. It's Cam Ward. You want to know why? Titans, we haven't had a QB in so long. We haven't had a franchise guy. And
Warren Moon.
Yeah, like Warren Moon, Marcus Mariota, like maybe if we did the Jaden Daniels process with him, like he would have amounted to a lot greater things than what he actually did. But we haven't had an explosive yes, this QB's great. I'm gonna die on a hill for this QB because I think he's great. So being able to get the best guy in this draft class, even though he's not the best, I think it's a surefire thing. Titans take Cam Ward. Also, Vrabel's gone. I don't think. What's Ben Callahan? His name's Ben. Brian. I don't think Brian Callahan really likes Will Campbell. Not Will Campbell. Will Levis.
Oh.
I think
he outwardly hates Will Levis.
I think he does not see the same things that Vrabel saw in Will Levis. He does not like a guy who's a gunslinger, who's very confident, who does all this crazy stuff, and you need to rein him in.
Because he had Joe Burrow.
Yeah, and he does not like a guy with a big hog either. So I don't know. Might say something about Cam Ward. I don't know. But yeah, obviously he does not like Will Levis. He is looking for a new guy, and it's a common process with these new coaches that come in. They want their guy. They don't want to win with somebody else's guy. They want to win with theirs. So I think for sure they're taking Cam Ward. They think he can develop and he can be great.
That's the other thing. Just quickly to your point where you said he's not the best. Bo led that team to the playoffs.
Yeah.
We went to the playoffs.
Yeah.
We had a good team built around him. We went to the playoffs. I think I've been on record. I think the Titans can be a playoff team. So 21 will get it done in a lot of situations.
Don't you? All right.
2.
Number 2. The Browns are up. Bum, ba-da-dum, bum, bum. I don't know the theme song, but the Browns are up.
The Browns are selecting Quinn Ewers.
The Browns are selecting Abdul Carter.
Wow, okay.
Why would the Browns select Abdul Carter? Well,
Because they're going to trade Myles Garrett.
you have to think, I'm the GM. So first of all, the Browns are the Browns. The Browns
Right.
do a lot of dumb shit, like pay Deshaun Watson a lot of money. They do a lot of dumb things. So when I get into the Browns facility, I'm immediately going to get injected with a virus that makes me stupid, right? And I'm also going to be filled with a lot of hatred. You want to know why? Miles wanted to leave. Miles doesn't want to be a part of this team. So what better way than convincing Myles Garrett that, hey, we're going to turn this program around. We are going to start winning. Stay, we'll pay you all this money, and then with our first pick, we draft his replacement.
Also, side note, Buddy was acting like there was something he knew that we didn't.
Yeah.
Like they were going to get Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson.
They're right back there, So there is also something to that. Besides an actual real point on this take is that would be a crazy defensive line. Abdul Carter on one end, Myles Garrett on the other. It wouldn't be the best pick that they could have, but if they took it, that would be very, very unstoppable defensive line rushing the quarterback. So it's also funny, but at the same time, it could be a good pick. depending on how you look at it. So now we have the Giants.
Giants at 3. Interesting.
I have two takes for the Giants. One, they either trade down because Cam Ward's gone. They need a quarterback. I don't think they believe in Russell Wilson. I know you don't believe that they believe in Russell Wilson.
No, but I believe in Jameis.
You believe in Jameis. So they either trade down to get Shador at a later pick because he is going to fall. I think me and you and everybody else believes that he is going to fall.
Yeah, I think he's back half of the first round.
Yeah. Or they take Travis Hunter. Here's the reason why they potentially might take Travis Hunter. It's because Travis has been very strongly worded. He wants to play both ways.
Yeah.
He is not even given an inch that maybe he won't play both ways.
And they need both. They need receivers and corners.
Yes. So here's the thing. If he's going to play both ways, if you are a team that needs a number one wide receiver, you should not take Travis Hunter. Because you do not know if he is going to be a great wide receiver and at the same time be a great corner. Because he's going to be playing both sides of the ball. So having a Malik Neighbors, who is going to be your number one, and being able to get a guy who potentially could be a great number 2. And, I mean, if he does shock the nation, baby. If he does shock the nation and he turns out to be number 1 caliber, hell yeah. You got now 2 number 1 caliber wide receivers who can, and this guy can also play cornerback. That's also a position of need. Actually, I don't know if it's a position in need.
Definitely is.
I know it's the Giants, so they need everything,
Yeah.
right? They just need more. So you either trade down if you really want a quarterback or you get Travis Hunter for the reason that it's a lot safer for you guys because you can have him still play both ways, but you can have him focus mostly on corner because you have Malik Neighbors. And he doesn't have to get burnt out all the time because Malik is the number 1 there, so you can just you don't have to have him be an X factor, basically. So it could kind of save him. It is a safer choice to take Travis there. At 4, the Patriots. This is a Mike Vrabel pick. This is based off of what I believe
Is this
what
a
he
Will
wants.
Campbell guard pick?
You son of a bitch. This is a Will Campbell being drafted as a tackle because that's what he is. But I know Vrabes. I know what he's going to do. He is going to draft Will Campbell because obviously they need offensive line. Like, they have a terrible offensive line. And I know Vrabel is going to move him to guard. It is no matter what, he's going to do that. So I can just see it. I can just see it with Vrabes.
Yeah, and I don't. At that point, if Travis Hunter is off the board and Abdul Carter, you've got that's it. Like,
Yeah.
Will Campbell's probably, honestly, the next best
And
guy.
you need it,
Everything else
man.
you're reaching.
You need it.
Yeah.
If you believe in Drake, which they got rid of Joe because they believe in Drake. Because I don't know if you know, but the reason why Joe got traded is because Joe said, I want a shot at starting QB. I feel like I deserve a shot. So they traded him.
Which is fair. I mean,
Yeah, it's fair. It's fair to do that for sure. But obviously, I think they believe in him. They believe in Drake. So getting an offensive lineman just makes sense. Now,
Yeah, I mean, whatever position on the offensive line doesn't really matter. You just need O-line, so you just draft the best O-lineman.
now at number 5.
Or number 5.
Duval. The good old Jacksonville Jaguars are picking. It's going to be really straightforward here. The Jacksonville Jaguars are taking Will Johnson, cornerback out of Michigan.
Yeah.
You want to know why? They need somebody to replace the moron who said he's going to jump a route early when Shador taps the ball. That's why they're taking a corner right here. They need to replace him. Obviously, he does not have the skills to play corner in the NFL if you're jumping routes based on taps. Me and you both agree on that. If he's jumping routes based on taps, we got to get him out of here.
No.
So they're taking a corner.
Yeah, they need everything. They're another team who just needs everything.
But obviously, I'm the GM, so my decisions
There's
are
a lot of guys that are like, Tet goes here.
yeah.
Apparently
Yeah.
Apparently he hates Tet. So, not that he's ever going to see us talk about him, but apparently Tet has never been used. It's always been J-Mac.
J-Mac.
Yeah. But J-Mac. Apparently people are like, go J-Mac, because then you have Brian. And when I say people, I mean fucking Colin Cowherd.
Fans. Colin Cowherd or fans. Yeah. So at 6, I think this is
Raiders.
Raiders. You can predict what they're going to take. It was so funny how everyone was like, Genty's mid-round. Genty's going to be mid-round. All of a sudden, it's like, oh, Genty's for sure going to the Raiders at 6. I believe him, too. I believe it. I think they're taking him.
It's Pete Carroll. Like, what he saw this year was
Oh, that reminds me, dude. You literally said in the podcast, I think 2 weeks ago, you're like, how come people aren't comparing Marshawn Lynch to Ashton Genty? I didn't make it a clip because nobody was saying that. Literally, like the next week, people are comparing Genty to Marshawn. You were an entire week ahead, and I didn't make clip, and I was like, I should have just trusted. I should have just trusted him, man.
Yeah, I mean, it makes if I'm Pete Carroll, yeah, 100%. What did I see this year? Dominant running backs and good defenses win games.
Yeah.
That's what I saw this year. So
And
I've
that's his
got Max
specialty.
Crosby,
Yeah.
and I'm a defensive head coach, and I've got my guy Gino that I believe in. So let me give him Marshawn Lynch.
Yeah, basically.
Like-
Basically, he's running the Seahawks back.
Yeah.
basically. Or that's what he's trying to do.
Essentially.
All right, number 7 now is the Jets. I just have offensive line. I don't have a specific guy. They just need to take somebody for the offensive line. Even though they did strengthen it up a little bit last year, but
I was about to say quarterback, but I remember they've got Justin Fields.
yeah, they got Fieldsy over there. So Jets, draft your socks.
Draft
That's
the
it.
Sox. Yeah, draft
That's
the
it.
Sox, probably.
And then now, here's an interesting one.
Number 8, this is the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, this is the Panthers. I don't know if you're gonna like this one.
Is it an edge rusher?
No.
Oh, okay.
Panthers take Tyler Warren. Panthers take Tyler Warren because Bryce had a great end of the season. And what is a QB's best friend?
It's good you're not GM.
Is a tight end. A tight end is a QB's best friend. What better to improve Bryce Young's amazing performance than getting him his best friend?
Do you know what is better than a best friend?
What?
A defense that doesn't let the other team score. That's what I would say personally, but you're the GM in this scenario.
I am the GM.
You are the GM.
I like my Bryce Young. I want him to have a best friend. I want him to have a drinking buddy. That's what I want. Tyler Warren is his drinking
You want
buddy.
his Greg Olson?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Greg Olson is Cam Newton?
Yeah. Bryce Young is Cam Newton, and we got to get him a Greg Olson. God damn it. If he wants to win games.
So is Xavier Legette Steve Smith Jr.?
Yeah. That's exactly what it is. I'm recreating the old Panthers of new, just with a shorter Cam Newton. Which honestly, the size of Cam Newton, that's not what made him great, obviously.
It was just the Sellies.
Yeah, it was just the sellies. It was really the confidence. I feel like Bryce Young has the confidence.
Oh my gosh.
That is my top 8. If I was the GM of these teams, this is who I would take.
You know, I really don't hate it. Cam makes sense. Browns going Abdul there's rumors there. If it's me picking for the Giants, you trade down.
Yeah.
You trade down in the first round. You don't give
Yeah.
up your first round pick. You just trade down in the first round. You've got a bunch of holes to fill. Get an extra second or something like that. Desperate team. If I'm the Patriots, then in that scenario where I trade down from the Giants and I go, I guess Travis maybe still comes off the board, and as the Pats, that's still Will Campbell.
Yeah.
Jags, this is not a reach at all. This is kind of a lot of people I feel like are going Will Johnson there.
Yeah.
Raiders,
For me,
Genty.
the reason is a reach. The
Yeah.
reason is because of what, I forget his name, like Amari something or whatever. But yeah,
so
Raiders, Genty, Jets. I was just like, they
Yeah.
just need O-line.
Yeah, they need O-line. So,
And then Panthers was the real crazy one. The Panthers was literally just me being like, what would I like to see Bryce Young have? A tight end, obviously. I would love to see Bryce Young with a solid tight end.
I think that's the one that the only two I would disagree with personally. Like I said, Giants trade down, and then Panthers go either edge or if I'm the Panthers, I honestly, because of the guys I brought in the offseason, if they went and got J-Mac or Luther Burden, or even Jaden Higgins here. Jaden Higgins feels like a little bit of reach, but if they were to go number 1 receiver and be like, fuck it, we're going receiver or edge rusher, then I would not be mad. I think either of those are reasonable. I think really for the Panthers, it's best player available. Is basically what their pick is. There's obviously positions of need, but I think for them it's basically best pick available. best player available, and then
Yeah, it really doesn't make too much sense because the one thing that was good about them at the end of the season was their offense. You know, Xavier obviously did not produce as much as was expected for him, but I still believe in him.
their offensive line is just atrocious.
Yeah. I still believe in them. They have a great running back in Chuba Hubbard. They have, I think, okay to good QB.
Yeah, if he plays like he did at the end of last year.
Yeah, he kind of figured it out. So I feel like
Kyler Murray.
giving him something. Yeah, he's like Kyler Murray. You know what Kyler Murray has? Kyler Murray has a best friend. That's why he doesn't throw it to Marvin Harrison Jr.
So, I don't hate that one. I don't hate that one at all.
Yeah, it's not terrible. It's just not.
I honestly think the end of the first round will be. I honestly think after the top 10 is honestly where the draft is interesting this year. Also, since we're talking about the draft, the Jazz lost their final game today, so they officially have the best odds at the number 1 pick. I'm so excited. This is the first time in my life that the Jazz actually have the best odds to get the number 1 overall pick.
Hell yeah.
And if we don't, I will shoot Adam Silver.
I will figure out where Adam Silver lives, break into his house, and shoot him with a gun.
110%.
I'm throwing this fucking game right now.
Yeah, I think that this is like 10. After 10, it's really interesting. 10 to 20, super interesting. Because you've got the Niners in here. You've got Dallas, Miami, Colts, Falcons, Cardinals, Bengals, Seattle, Bucks, Denver.
Yeah.
That's a really interesting group. Especially San Fran, just outside the top 10.
Yeah.
Very interesting what they do there. Dallas will be interesting too. They obviously just got, I almost said drafted Joe Milton. Basically, they did.
Actually, I do have another take because you brought up Joe Milton on the Cowboys.
Joe Milton.
Do you think there is a legitimate worry for Dak Prescott that he might not have a job with Joe Milton being there?
Yes.
Now, I know the things I've said about Joe Milton. I know what I've said. Not great things. But to me, I feel like there is a very legitimate worry here that maybe Dak will not be the starting quarterback at the end of this season.
I think there's a massive chance. Whether Dak likes it or not, he's injury prone. Like, this is not even, to me, taking away, it's not even a skill thing. Like, Joe Milton gives you a better chance to win than Cooper Rush. So if it comes down to it, and Dak has a shitty opening to the year, they're 2-4 with fuckhead Brian whatever the dick. Do you think that they're gonna actually put now? That's the question. Do you actually think Joe Milton gives you a good chance at winning? Because then, are you gonna put him in or not? Because you're gonna tank for Arch. That's the question. But if Jerry's crazy,
Yeah, and here's my thing with it. This is the second season-ending injury Dak is coming off of.
oh yeah,
It's got to creep into... I don't even know if Jerry's a part of it, but we'll just say Jerry. It's got to creep into the back of Jerry's mind.
There is not even a part of it. He is it.
It has to creep in the back of his mind that maybe Brandon Cooks being the flipping reception leader second is crazy, but it has to creep in the back of his mind that maybe Dak is not reliable based off of injuries, and there is a chance that this is something that can keep happening to him, and it has to creep in the back of his mind. So it gets to a certain point to where you're like, we have this guy who is very flashy, who does have a lot of raw talent. At some point,
He's a great Dallas quarterback.
At some point, do you pull the trigger and do you say, it is better for this organization to try and develop Joe Milton than continue with Dak Prescott, who is coming off of 2 season-ending injuries, and I'm worried that Dak will get another one.
Look, dude, even just for fun, even if it's for fun, if you start the year 2-4, let's say, you're 6 games in, and Dak's like nicked up,
Yeah.
just sit him down for the year. Like, Joe, honestly, I mean, like, from like a personality perspective, he is perfect for Dallas.
Yeah.
Like, he's
Flashy,
great.
giant penis. You know what I'm saying?
Giant arm.
Jerry Jones cares about that, too. He cares about the hog. That's probably why they picked him up.
Yeah.
They probably did the measurements. He's got something hanging between his legs.
Yeah, I just think Dak is... It's unfortunate because he just got paid a bunch of money. But look, the unfortunate reality is that we'll see what happens with the Steelers, and we'll see what happens with the Jets. But the ultimate reality is right now, the object of everyone's fascination we had a veteran quarterback. There's a veteran quarterback in Denver. He got thrown away, and they took a rookie, and they did well. And then they had not a veteran quarterback, but a Sam Howell, and who was like not that good, but they were able to find a good coach, and then whatever. And then they drafted a guy. Like, the trend is get rid of your old guy and go young.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes sense.
Let's go!
I do think there's a legitimate chance that now, if Dak's just healthy and they're just like 4-4, he'll play the whole year, and then Joe doesn't have a shot. But if they're 2-6 and Dak's nicked up, or maybe he missed a game or something here.
Well, here's the other thing. Like, imagine if Joe Milton was, let's say that crazy game versus the second team. I took a timeout. I thought he caught that. But imagine that crazy game he had at the end of the year was versus the second team was in the preseason. He did that for the Cowboys. He was on the Cowboys last year. Imagine that. And then Dak goes down and you have Cooper Rush there. I would be worried that they're starting Joe Milton over Cooper Rush, and I would be worried that if he does show flashes, Dak never sees the field again. And here's the thing. In this scenario of last year, if Joe Milton was on that team, that's the Colts. It's literally the Indianapolis Colts.
Now, there is something to be said, though, because Cooper Rush did get the call. Now, the question will be, how much did Mike McCarthy go, I want Cooper Rush over Trevor, Trey Lance?
Yeah, Trey Lance.
But I honestly think that right now, in today's world, going away from the draft, Joe Milton's better than Trey Lance right now.
Yeah, based off of what we've seen, yeah, he is better than Trey Lance. The problem is like we don't know what it is.
We haven't seen Trey Lance.
I think specifically being in the Dallas Cowboys system with Jerry Jones, if you had a game where you showed flashes like that, Jerry's never taken you off of the field. I feel like it is a perfect scenario for Joe Milton because of how crazy that system that he's in is.
Yeah, I think Joe's set up for success here. I think that the Dallas job is a good job, even as a backup.
Yeah.
You're just the guy that everybody loves. And hell, it could be as simple as this.
Oh, I thought he was going to keep running.
It could be as simple as this. Joe goes, Dak gets hurt, Joe plays 4 games at the end of the year and plays okay. Justin Fields doesn't work out, and so the Jets send Dallas a 4th, 5th round pick for Joe Milton.
Yeah.
And then he starts next year. Here's
Justin the other thing
shits
too. I sent a post on Buffet Sports group chat. If you could pull that up, I'm gonna pee real quick while you pull that up. But that has something too. Like if they feel like Joe's got the raw ability to play for them, and they want to try and develop him, that means Dak's on the board.
Yeah.
That's 4 trades as well. So the post I sent you was a list of guys that are most likely to be traded in this draft by Fox Sports. So if you can pull that up. And
this is already existing guys.
Yes, already existing guys on teams that are most likely to get traded so people can move up in the draft.
Kayvon Thibodeau is crazy. I'm taking this red zone.
You gotta remember there's a slight delay. Even more of a delay than normal. And that's why he's the OC, everybody! That's why he's the fucking OC! God damn!
So is this the list you're talking about?
Yes, that is the list.
Okay.
I wanted to kind of I didn't really look too much into it and get a real good feel to it because I wanted to get both of our blind reactions on what we think is the most probable for these trades and who these teams could potentially jump up to get.
Do we want to look at the full 32 team list?
We can. I thought those main names were pretty interesting. I thought the Falcons with Kirk Cousins. I thought that was very interesting because it is true. Like Kirk was supposed to be the guy there, and then now obviously they're going away from Kirk.
Well, they're
going with
cut.
Michael.
They were originally, the idea was they were going to cut him.
Yeah.
A post May 1st cut or June 1st cut. So
And there's still teams that do need a QB. You know, like I feel like the Titans are very solid in taking Cam Ward, but I mean, you never know. Like Kirk, take out last year.
if
Kirk Cousins
if the
was
Giants
a
wouldn't
premier.
have given Russell that deal, I
Yeah.
would say they're on the board. But they
Yeah.
gave Russ such a big deal.
Yeah, I agree. But like, if you take out last season, Kirk Cousins was the hottest girl in the bar. Everybody was trying to get Kirk Cousins before last year. He was.
Maybe that's Cleveland's plan.
It could be.
Could be.
It could be. You know, like the Falcons now get the second pick. You know, they trade
I don't think they're
Kirk
trading the
Cousins.
second pick. For
You don't
Kirk.
think so? Like,
Maybe like a third, maybe a fifth.
okay, so you don't think like Kirk? Is there anybody on that list that you think could pop them up into the first round, like get them a higher position in the first round? Because for me, I was thinking Kirk Cousins because of how good he was before last year, but like there's some great names in there too, like AR. Right, AR's there. Daniel Jones is there. Daniel Jones could be looked at more consistently than Anthony Richardson.
I'm just gonna start reading names off here. Okay, Ravens, Mark Andrews.
Never gonna happen.
Bills, AJ Espenza. Panthers, Jadeveon Clowney. Bears. Did I say Bears twice? I don't
No,
know. Bears, Andrew
A
Billings. Bengals, Trey Hendrickson.
Yeah,
Browns,
like
Greg Newsome.
The Bengals owners have said that they've made comments that they're not going to pay Trey. We don't know if that's true or not,
Which
but
we need to talk about at some point, maybe next week, them potentially moving.
yeah, I saw that. But Trey, Micah Parsons, those level of players, I feel like can pop you into the first round.
In this draft, for sure.
Yeah,
Dallas, Micah's the next one.
yeah.
For us, the Broncos, John Franklin Myers, JFM. Lions, Amik Robertson. He's a corner. Green Bay Packers, Jair Alexander.
Jair, like there are a lot of big names on this Fox list.
The Texans, Damian Pierce.
You're gonna get a 7th rounder.
Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, like AR, like there's
Jacksonville, Travis Etienne. They trade him for his brother.
that would be crazy.
Jalen Watson for the Chiefs. Michael Mayer, probably that makes sense for the Raiders. Quentin Johnston, that makes sense for the Chargers. Sam Curl, no idea. Tyreek Hill for Miami.
Yes. So yeah, keep going. I get a full view of all the people that Fox thinks there could be a chance that these guys get traded to move up.
Tyrann Mathieu. Kayvon Thibodeau is crazy for the Giants.
That is crazy. But
25-year-old pass rusher.
Giants could potentially get
Jump to
Abdul
one.
Carter
I think if they're going to trade Kayvon Thibodeau, they're going to one.
going to one.
Yeah.
Taking Cam.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Like, if that's...
I wouldn't mind us Titans taking Kayvon Thibodeau. And then we get to pick somebody at
3.
At 3?
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind that at all. I would love to get Kayvon Thibodeau and then pick up Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter potentially.
Because you're basically getting older Abdul Carter there.
Yeah, I would love that. I would absolutely love that. If that was real, I don't think the Giants are going to do that, me personally. But if they would, I mean, that's a fleece for the Titans. I love that.
Yeah. And then you get the Dallas Goedert for the Eagles is another name. George Pickens for the Steelers. They just traded for a guy.
Yeah,
Brandon
they just got
Ayuk.
DK.
Kenneth Walker, Rashad White, Will Levis, Noah Brown. That's it.
All right, so out of this list, who do you think has a legit chance of being traded to move up in the draft?
Rashad White.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think it would move them up that much, especially with how strong of a running back class this is. The one I was going to... Tyreek Hill.
Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah,
for
Brandon
sure.
Ayuk,
Brandon
Tyreek
Ayuk
Hill.
for sure.
Like, how do you feel about Tyreek? You think they're going to keep him?
You know where I'm at.
Yeah, but like that's what I'm saying. Like Tyreek, like there's somebody. The Browns are stupid enough. They are. Tyreek's a big enough name.
I just don't know. If you're the Dolphins, I don't know what you benefit by moving up to 3.
Anything. Like so, I guess in your mind, they need a QB. Potentially, if you're giving up Tyreek, unless you believe in Jalen Waddle, you need a wide receiver. I don't know how their O-line is. They have a great tight end. Fantastic tight end. Possibly one of the best tight ends I've ever goddamn seen.
I just don't know. Like, the Dolphins are another team that need everything.
Yeah.
So by moving up, and it doesn't help.
That would be hilarious. Travis Hunter in Miami with his
I
girlfriend.
also don't think that Tyreek pulls a top 10 pick in this draft.
So who would, out of that list, who would pull?
I mean, there's guys on here, but I just don't think they're realistic.
Micah has been having
Like
troubles.
Brandon Ayuk, they're at 11, so
Yeah.
they don't benefit by going up any higher. They're not going to take a quarterback. Will Campbell will be too early gone for them to get the next tackle for the future. And
They
he's
could
probably
take
gonna play
Georgia's
guard.
edge rusher. He's been predicted in a couple of drafts to go top 10.
I don't see it.
I do feel like Micah could be one of those. There's been a lot of drama between Micah and his organization.
Maybe
Let's talk about Packers corner. What's his name?
Jai Alexander.
Jair.
I get the injury concerns, but he's a sure thing.
Yeah.
Like, in the league, he's probably like CB3.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I get it, but it didn't hurt you all that much. Like,
Yeah.
he didn't play in the playoffs, which would have been helpful.
Yeah.
But in the regular season, it didn't. Maybe that's why you lost some of your in-division games. Maybe you get a couple in-division games.
Mhm.
But based on how the playoffs played out last year, I don't think he makes enough of an impact to get you any further.
You think Jair could be a big enough name to move them into the top 10?
But again, what are they going to take with the top 10 pick? They need a receiver.
Yeah.
That's overdrafting.
Yeah. Edge rusher. It's a huge edge rusher class.
But I think you can get that. My point is, these guys that are in the middle, these teams that are in the middle, don't benefit by moving up. It takes two to trade. So, like, a lot of these guys are stars, and they definitely could get you there, but I don't see the point.
Trade with the Jags. Now you get Will Campbell. Not what's his name? Will Campbell? No, Will Johnson.
No.
Just exchange it. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. Yeah. So out of those, who was the main one that you thought for sure, like there's a good chance of them getting traded?
Kirk is probably the number one.
Kirk,
Yeah,
for
Kirk.
sure. Yeah, it just makes sense too. Like, who do you think takes that?
I mean, like, the Saints kind of make sense. Because Derek Carr might have another injury.
Yeah,
to
the
where he's
Steelers
out.
currently do not have a quarterback. Steelers could be.
But the Steelers would be, let's see. The Falcons are already a higher draft pick than the Steelers.
They could take their second round or some shit, you know.
Yeah,
Because
maybe.
you said like you don't feel like he's gonna be able to like bump them up
Right.
in the first round, so they get a higher second round. I mean, the Steelers need a running back. They just got rid of Najee. It's a deep running back class. I mean, you could try and get Amari Hampton if he's not already off the board. I mean, I feel strongly about Quinshon Judkins. I have not heard a lot about Quinshon Judkins. I've heard people say that they would take Travion Henderson over Quinshon. To me, that's insane. But at the same time, I like what I like when it comes to running backs. I'm not a big fan of the pass catcher running back. I really like a fucking ground and pounder who's gonna beat a defense like mentally.
He doesn't want you to stand and bang. He wants you to ground and pound.
Yeah, I want to put him on the ground. Yeah, I want to put the opposing team on the ground sexually. Right? That's what I want. So it just comes down to what you think works better in the NFL. I think Quinshon's a great prospect, but I mean that could work for them. I mean, they need it. They need a running back. Steelers, unless they Jalen Warren. That's his name. Jalen or Jaron?
Yeah, he's going to the Colts.
Oh, he's getting traded.
Uh-huh.
No. I'm talking about not the Steelers' current running back, the guy who looks better than Najee Harris.
Oh.
Like, if you believe in that guy, then yeah, but at the same time, if you're getting an extra second-round pick, why not try and get one of these elite running backs in that draft? So
Yeah, I don't know. But Kirk is probably the guy that I would look at and say he's probably getting traded.
yeah, I could see it. It definitely makes the most sense. Like, you gave up on Kirk Cousins. Why is he still there? You know, like, let him loose. Let him go play somewhere else. Go with your guy. Oh, so the last football topic that I have, you've probably heard about it. It's been on everybody's For You page today. Nico Yamaleva.
Oh,
Yamaleva.
the Tennessee quarterback.
Our guy. from our first rebuild.
The Tennessee quarterback.
Yes, the Tennessee quarterback. He had requested $4 million to stay in Tennessee. Tennessee's head coach said, well, Tennessee, the organization, they said,
Kick rocks.
kick rocks. We're all right. How, first impressions on Nico, first of all, asking for $4 million to stay. And then second of all, the organization actually saying, yeah, you can go find that somewhere else. Because I feel like we have not seen a lot of that within this current era of NIL where the organization says no.
He's just the first of many. We've talked about Andrew Luck as the prospect, but he's now the GM of Stanford. They have actual GMs now.
Yeah.
So, like, it's just the first of many.
Yeah.
I wouldn't overreact about it, and we've seen success for a lot of quarterbacks who have transferred. So I don't think I don't put too much to it. It's the game now. Welcome all the college guys, the guys that are like all the guys that are hardcore college establishment old way will hate it and will say, oh, he's gonna be blah blah blah. But in reality, it's just the first of many, and it just is what it is.
Fuck! I'm the DC, by the way. This is what I'm supposed to be good at. Who is that, by the way? Oh, that is still Tua. So, my take on it. I've seen a lot of people on the internet say Nico doesn't deserve $4 million. I would argue against that. This was his first season starting for Tennessee. They got to the playoffs. I mean, he did not look good in the playoffs, but he was playing an elite level team in flipping Ohio State. You know, like a very stacked team. I think based on NIL, I feel like, yeah, $4 million is a fair asking price. Obviously, it's going to be more than what he's actually worth, but you're also betting on him being able to develop as he is incredibly young at the QB position. The main thing that I took away from Tennessee saying, no, we're good, is this is the start, right? The NIL is still new. The NIL is something that, when it first happened, everybody was pulling out their wallets. They're like, hey, I got money over here. Come over here. But like in every market, it corrects itself. This is the first sort of indicator of the correction of the market to where we're actually going to figure out what people are actually worth. So the people that got paid all this crazy money before, I personally think we're not going to see that anymore. I think this is the first step here to where now we actually have prices on certain positions, and from this point on, we're going to see a lot more teams, a lot more organizations say no to certain guys because they are not worth that much money. So congratulations to everybody who got crazy deals before, but this is the correction of the market. This is going to be normal now, where people are asking for crazy money and people say no. And who knows, maybe Nico goes to a place and they pay him $6 million. But I think it's a great step for college football. It was an incredibly smart move by Tennessee to say no, and I feel like a lot of organizations are going to follow in those footsteps of saying no to crazy deals for these guys. That's what I took away. I took away is like this is the first step in the market actually becoming a real market where you have actual numbers on what these guys are actually worth instead of just writing a blank check to try and get Dave Portnoy writing a blank check to just try and get every good guy like on Michigan's team. I feel like now there's actually going to be like, okay, he's asking for too much money compared to what we can get in the market, you know? And I feel like that's a great step. And, you know, a lot of people, son of a bitch, I thought he was wide open.
You gotta go.
Yeah, you're right. I think it's a great step, and a lot of people were freaking out about NIL, and I feel like this is the first time where it's very normal. This is what is supposed to happen. What's supposed to happen is what is happening. Like, people are trying... I'm just saying the same shit over and over again. They're figuring out how much people are actually worth. You're not going to see these crazy contracts anymore. Very proud of Tennessee for being the start of this new cycle, what I believe will be the new cycle of actually reeling back on the price of these players.
Well, yeah, it's a quarter of their NIL money, technically.
Yeah, fuck.
You have timeouts.
Yeah, it's a mental thing that I teach Quinn to play with. I teach him to play with no timeouts. Always. We're always out of timeouts. What are you seeing here, OC? What are you seeing here? Who's going to be open, please?
Wilson. No. Yep. Okay.
Oh, but you saw the vision. You saw the vision, though.
Right.
If he got it over the top, that's a touchdown. You saw it, though, brother.
Give me this.
I'm giving. It's 3rd and 9 with 25 seconds left. I'm not giving you a good position. I'm not setting you up for success, but we'll see. 14-14. Let's try and get in field goal range. I did not do that. Did you catch that? He caught that? All right. Field goal wins it. Keep that in mind. But field goals are harder because there's a delay.
Right.
Oh, my God. Oh. No, he dropped it?
No, he's out of bounds.
Devontae.
Oh, booth review.
Booth review.
No.
What did he even catch it? So 1? No. Bro, his foot glided. Put your fucking feet down. Wait. We'll take it. You're right, refs. That was a touchdown. What are you guys doing? Fire that ref who said it wasn't a touchdown. Fire him. Obviously, he doesn't have eyes. I kind of like this. I kind of like having the OC sit back until I need him, and then I call the OC.
All right. We made it 10-6.
I just don't know. I just can't muck it up. All right, you have any other points? I ran out of all of mine.
No, I'm sleepy. Tired. That pillow's calling my name.
Yeah, the last thing that I have is obviously like UFC. If you still want to talk about it, we don't have to, obviously.
I think we can get it next week.
Yeah.
Because we have until UFC 315, we got a while, and we got Bilal.
If they catch this, I'm going to kill myself. We improved to 10-6 thanks to our great offensive coordinator, Devin Latrell, giving us a touchdown. 3rd and 9 with 25 seconds left. He still finds a way to do it off of 2 plays. And that touchdown by you as well.
Found a way to get it done. All right, well, guys, hopefully that was an enjoyable one.
Also, before this ends, nobody's going to see this because nobody watches this long. But I had an idea, since we are going to get into UFC content. You've been talking a lot about baseball as well. Mm-hmm. If there was some way, I think maybe a free game was MLB The Show, like last year's game.
I'm not playing fucking
I'm
MLB.
not saying that you have to play that. I'm saying that potentially, if people want to see it, there is a challenge that we could do. We could talk about football. I put it on all Madden. I try and win a game while we're talking about football. We talk about UFC. I switch over to the UFC. I put it on the hardest difficulty. I try and win a fight while we're talking about UFC. We go over the baseball. I put it on the hardest difficulty. I try and win a game of baseball while we talk about baseball. It is a challenge. It is the triple threat challenge that I stole from a guy who was allegedly a pedophile.
Wow.
It's the sports version of the triple threat challenge. If people want to see it, I am open to trying it. Because right now, I think we're playing on just
Like
pro or all
something.
pro,
Yeah.
normal difficulty to where we can go 10-6 with a 76 overall QB. So if that is something people want to see, they want to see me go on the hardest difficulty, play these 3 games while we talk about them, I will do it. That was my thought. Let's hit them with the outro.
Thanks for watching. If you made it this far, go ahead and comment down below. Full Course Boys. I'm Devin. That's Zano. We're Buffet Sports. Thanks for watching, guys. We appreciate you. We love you. All the interaction, love or hate, we appreciate it. Ciao.
Ciao.
Oh, my head is fucking pounding.